Hi folks, how's everyone doing today? My name's Jeff, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about some basic first aid and a little bit about shoring up your mind for the things that lay ahead. I don't know how you guys are faring out there. We got hit pretty hard in Boston. Not as bad as the larger cities, but the hospitals are pretty bad, and they're saying the average ambulance wait time is 2 or 3 days. So we're pretty cut off. Some of the urgent care facilities are still running up, but you know, we've heard mixed reviews. Anyway, we're pretty close to the base, so the National Guard's been helping us out with supplies. I want to talk to you guys about the basics. I'm pretty sure that everyone's told you by now the CDC had a card out for a while, but everyone's home should have a first aid kit. And at least one, everyone in the house should be trained in CPR. But at least someone in the house should be trained in either EMT basic or some sort of first aid, just in case things happen. With that comes fresh water. Make sure that you boil it, or you put some tablets in it to sterilize it if you have to. But make sure that it's clean, and food. Make sure you cook your food, because infection is the big thing to think about these days, for sure. Most stuff that's going to happen to you emergency-wise is going to involve breathing, heart rate, or consciousness. So you always want to check and see if there's a pulse, see if they're breathing, and see if you can assess their consciousness and go from there. But this is all first aid stuff. I want you guys to think about more of the insidious things to think about, particularly fever, diarrhea, and infection. Those are the three bigs right now. Fever, dunk them in water. Do what you got to do. Get them in there, ice bath will work. It's conduction. It takes the heat away from the body. You can use alcohol rubs in a pinch, but that's evaporation. It's going to take more heat from the core, and you got to make sure you have blankets so they don't shiver. But you want to make sure that you take care of a fever right away, because a fever of about 105 or 107 for long enough can do brain damage, so you want to make sure you get that down. Diarrhea is mostly coming from parasites, from bad food, bad water, things like that. So you want to make sure, again, that your food is cooked and that your water is taken care of to try and avoid that. Both fever and diarrhea are major causes of dehydration, and so you want to make sure that your people have enough water at all times. Infection is really the thing to think about, though. Number one thing, wash your hands all the time whenever you do anything. I mean, really get in there, right? In between the webbing and into the nail beds, just to make sure that it's clean, because contact, you don't even realize the things you pick up. Write it down, 10 things that you touch from the moment you watch this. You'd be stunned. So keep that in mind. Also, every day you want to make sure you check for wounds. Sometimes you go out and you bang yourself around and you don't feel anything, but you want to make sure that you check and make sure. And if you do, you want to clean the area thoroughly and make sure you put a clean dressing over it. People who have implants, people who have any kind of catheters or intrathecal pumps or anything like that, you want to make sure that those wounds are cleaned regularly. And anyone who's got dressings, you want to make sure that you change them. I know antibiotics are scarce, so we want to try and keep infections to a minimum. The other thing you can do is blow your nose regularly. You can get rid of some of the junk that you accumulate during the day just out of your nose, just some of the industrial toxins and things like that. Some people use neti pots. You can do that too. And also basic things like vitamin C. And try and stay away from anything that's going to expose you to things like extreme cold and stuff like that. But this is all sort of academic. You guys already know this, and you should be aware of what's going on, and hopefully you've taken time to study the body and see what you can do in an emergency and sustain yourself. But I think the larger issue is, what do we do when an ambulance takes time? It's what do we do when a hospital isn't a place we can go and our doctors aren't really people that we can see anymore? I think it becomes an issue of how do we take care of ourselves, and I know that's what's on everyone's mind. I know it's on my mind, and so I want to talk to you a little bit about preparing yourself for this sort of thing. I think we're going to see, as a result of this crisis, an evolution in self-care. I think it's now up to you to be the doctor, not just for your family and your friends and your neighbors, but for yourself. And that means eating well. It means taking preventative steps. It means taking a little extra time and care with your body each day to avoid, the nut show that's out there right now. And I think whenever there's a crisis, there's a tendency for people to become very insular and to protect their little pod. And now more than ever, we need to branch out, and we need to be a part of a community now, because whether you like it or not, all of us have been called on to step up, and we're now part of this larger community, because our neighbors are now our friends, and our friends are our neighbors, and separation and barriers, please Health knows none of those distinctions. So be good to each other, and remember, I think most importantly, that calm in a crisis of any kind, whether it's they teach you to be calm during a heart attack or during an emergency situation, but there's that insidious waiting period that when there's a prolonged crisis where you don't know and you get scared, and that's normal, and you're not alone. Remember that also, but realize that you are now responsible for being calm for other people who might not have access to the kind of care that they used to. So whether you meditate or whether you don't, one of the things you want to consider is deep breathing. It always relaxes. It's in for a 4 count, hold for a 4 count, and then breathe out for a 4 count and hold for a 4 count. Do it for a couple of minutes. Do it till you start to feel your heart rate slowing down. Do it every day. Just to center yourself and make sure. As far as meditation goes, there's a lot of books that have been written, there's a lot of literature out there, there's a lot of gurus and things, but it's real simple. Every time you see the lightning and you're waiting for the thunder, that expectation, that hanging moment where you're not thinking about anything else, that's meditating. Do that 10 minutes a day, see what happens. Like I said, we're being called on to be stronger than we are, and perhaps in ways that we didn't expect. And it sucks righteously, and there's a lot of terrible things going on right now, but beyond that, it's still us. And they did this in the frontier times, and they did this during wars, and explorers have done this. So it's not like the world is going to end necessarily, and certainly not if we stick together. So center your mind, take care of your bodies, try and take care of these things before it gets serious, and watch out for the stuff that'll get you on the side, okay? Here's my best to you and your family. I hope that you guys are safe, and hope that we all get through this together. Okay, thanks.